You're listening to Your Superpowered Mind on the Superpower Up podcast, the show that investigates the innate power within your brain to create lasting change.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Your Superpowered Mind. I'm your host, Kristin Maxwell, and we are here today to give you some tools and strategies that you can use right now to start to master your mind, connect to your personal power, and transform yourself and your world. Today, we are going to be talking to Michelle Kopper about giving voice to your confidence. Michelle is a voice, video, and visibility expert. She helps entrepreneurs to find their voice, clarify their message, expand their presence, so they can share their gifts with the world. I know Michelle and have worked with her myself and have benefited from her laser sharp ability to hone in on what you're wanting to tell the world. She clarifies your message and then guides you in how to express it to the world. Her energy is infectious. You're going to love it. Michelle, welcome to Your Superpowered Mind.
Hi, thank you, Kristin. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you. So my first question is always, what superpower did you uncover as a result of mastering your mind?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that what always surprised me and always surprises other people is that the superpower that we all have is that also helped me to radically shift my mindset and be empowered in my thinking and my actions was actually discovering the power of the human voice to shift and heal and expand my ability to, think differently, react to the world differently.
Wow, that's actually I have never really heard anybody speak to that. So tell me, what do you mean by the power of the human voice and its ability to help us?
Well, the sound creates space, and a lot of the rattling thinking, getting trapped in our head, going down the rabbit hole of our thoughts and our thinking is like a compulsion, or it's a path that a loop that we get caught in. And sound can actually interrupt that loop. And our own human voice actually has vibration. Sound actually creates space and it moves matter. And our own human voice can actually change our brain chemistry. It can change our physiology and ground us back into our body and something beyond our thoughts, deeper than our thoughts. So briefly, accessing and activating my human voice and the voice of clients, thousands now of clients, using the human voice to still their mind and to expand and have access to something bigger and beyond their thoughts and connect back into their body has been a superpower that I have been exploring and cultivating and unleashing not only in myself but in many others. That was definitely a surprise to me.
Yeah, that I love that, because I definitely, a number of my own clients definitely, and myself, have gotten caught in that looping mind thought of going round and round. And I love the idea of using the voice. So I can't wait to hear more about that. And maybe you can give us some tips a little bit later about
Absolutely.
How we can. Great. That would be good.
Absolutely.
So tell me, how did you discover this power of the voice? How did you come across this?
Well, because I was repressed, I was stifled. There's a long story and a short story, but mine has been a journey of finding my aligned work in the world. And I was a creative. I still am a creative, but I pursued a life in performing arts, but had a whole bunch of stage fright. And I really felt called to sing and was not able to because of my mind, right? The fear, the perfectionism, the fear of being judged by others, judging myself. It was never good enough for me. And that mindset really inhibited a performance career. And so I set about to change that. And I really came to see that I felt called for whatever reason to heal that perfectionism and shyness and stage fright. My physiology really would literally close off my voice. And I, was kind of frustrated and definitely had a kind of a low bottom around being able to share my gifts, which at the time was mostly singing and songwriting and acting. And I had to free my voice. I felt like that was my calling, and I didn't know exactly why. So because my particular charge and challenge was literally around my physical voice, that's how I came to discover this innate power. And it's in every ancient wisdom teaching in the world, the power of sound and the power of the human voice. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow from, centuries ago said the human voice is the organ of the soul. So my journey was around finding and freeing my own unique voice. And in doing so, I gathered a very unique perspective and toolkit to see how the actual sensation and vibration of the human voice can do the healing and the clearing and the rewiring, if you will, to heal the mindset piece. So it became an integral part of my process in healing and working with others.
Wow. I had never really heard this story about you. And so it's great. And of course your voice, the sound of your voice, you can hear the energy in it. So that's very powerful.
Great. Yeah, that's something that I help people do. And I have had to expand, it was kind of change or die for me because it was really stifling my work and my happiness and my fulfillment. And I have seen again and again and again, we often withhold when we're caught in the mindset of, the rabbit trail, habit trail, the hamster wheel.
Hamster wheel, yes.
The hamster wheel of our mind. It's very hard to snap out of that. And because it was such a mindset issue, and for me around freeing the voice, and I'm trained as a yogi, and I've done a ton of sound practice as a yogi, and also as a classical singer and a rock and roll singer, and that was part of my early journey. And because of my challenges around mindset and my inclination towards transformation, that was my journey. That I knew that was what I was here to do, and that's how I've come to able to help other people do it. But in that process, I've discovered there's a very specific alchemy and power in the human voice that when we can activate it, access it, allow it, it actually does invite and endow and imbue our sound resonance with more presence. So I love that you could hear that.
Yeah, I really can. And you know what? We're going to go take a short break. But before we do, can you please tell listeners maybe where they can find out more about you and your work in giving voice to confidence?
Great. Yes, I would love to. Probably the great way for them to find me would be to go to michellepkopper.com. And that's Michelle with 2 L's and an E at the end. And Kopper is spelled with a K. So michellepkopper.com is my website. And there's a fun powerful presence profile there if you want to check it out. And you can just email me, Michelle@michellepkopper.com as well. Love to support you.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Michelle Kopper some more about maybe her tips and suggestions that you can take to give voice to your confidence and you tap into the power of your own voice.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Your Superpowered Mind, and we are talking to Michelle Kopper. So, Michelle, I am wanting to get a little bit deeper into maybe your suggestions for other people and listeners about what they can do to discover and use the power of their voice. But I'm also curious more about your own personal story. What has changed in your life, would you say, as a result of freeing your voice?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. And again, that was my journey. I felt called, and I do believe today that the reason that I felt called to uncover the power of my voice was because of it being a unique way for other people to expand. Would you ask me that question again?
Yes, I'm just wanting to know just some, I guess you can take this however you want, but I'm just sort of curious, like, what has changed? I know that you were wanting to pursue a career in music with voice and, of course, shutting down. But then also even beyond that, you now actually work with people. So how did finding your voice change your life in any way?
Well, first of all, having the everything that I had to go through in order to excavate, access my own permission, not feel like I was going to die when I said what I thought or spoke or tried to teach, or let alone try to perform. Everything that I had to go through became a very rich transformational process for me of expanding my confidence, expanding my trust in myself and my own permission to exist. I was not kidding about sound being the beginning of creation, and so for us as humans, the human voice being a tool for, everything that exists in the world started with a thought. But if we get stuck in the thought and the thought is not made manifest by action and actually spoken, then nothing ever gets created. So the fact that I found and freed my voice, first of all, to come to a point where I could sing anything in any style for any person was incredibly liberating. It's like the thing that I thought I would never be able to do, I could do. But that's like the tip of the iceberg in terms of the transformation that's happened to me as I've continued my own journey of finding and freeing my voice, my real work in the world, my purpose, my calling, and then answering it and sharing it and being able to see that possibility and hold that space and allow that transformation for other people's is definitely today, I know, the reason why I went through all of that, to help other people access their confidence and freedom. But, for example, moving into working with entrepreneurs or transformational leaders, people who have this big idea or this big story, they want to be the uplifters, but so many, especially I will say women 40 and up, have this shyness or resistance, or for some people, this choking fear around sharing their big gifts, taking up space, shining their light. I read Marianne Williamson's book, Return to Love, 25 years ago, and it's often quoted, but she talks about as we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So when we have been withholding our self-expression, which comes out through the voice, when we have been withholding that for a lifetime or maybe lifetimes, that's stored up in our body. And what I know through the work that I've done and all the things that I've studied and the transformation that I've had is that the vibration, your voice, if you've seen a sound wave, it takes up space. You can blast sound on a smooth bed of sand and the sand will move, right? So the sound of your own voice actually frees up. So I have had professional opportunities. I have had many layers of freeing my voice that allow me today to be highly visible online. They allow me to have confident enrollment conversations. They allow me to serve hundreds and thousands of people instead of 8 people at a time in my little workshops, right? So that is hugely empowering, but it also empowers like how I walk around in the world and how I trust myself, and I have my own permission to fail. I have my own permission to make mistakes. I'm not living in a box that is controlled by fear.
I can just hear your passion, and I'm sure that all the listeners who are going to be listening to this are going to want that too. That feeling.
It's incredible to know. I mean, I spent many years thinking that I would always have this toolkit to help people navigate the stuck in their head, the fear about speaking up, the fear about sharing in a big way, the fear about writing their book, the fear about creating their transformational message, whatever that was, right? I thought it would be about giving them tools from the performer's toolkit, from the yoga toolkit, from the mindset toolkit, all these different ways that I have coped with that fear or shyness or perfectionism or choking, stifling fear in my case, how I've coped with it. And then what I discovered through stepping up, showing up, I had an opportunity to present to industry leaders in a room full of 400 people and share my work in this really big way. And what I realized going through that process is that I have actually transformed it. So now I don't have to use all the tools in my toolkit just to show up anymore. I literally don't have the same fear. It is gone. And that was something I didn't know if it was ever possible. And for me, that journey, that transformation has come through a lot of energy work, but much of that energy work is through the sensation and vibration of sound, of the sound of my own voice, and using particular exercises, not waiting until I have it all figured out perfect in my head, but actually speaking it on camera, speaking it on stage, speaking it on the phone, speaking it in a room, if that makes sense. So rather than waiting until I get it all tied up in a perfect bow and say everything right, learning how to trust and give voice, listening to my intuitive voice, my inner knowing, and being able to confidently express what I know as true in the world through my words and my sounds. So
how did you get yourself started? Like, what was there where you realized, I think a lot of us, we get to this point where we're like, I cannot live like this anymore. But then how did you then discover to start taking these process? What did you do? That's kind of a very broad question. But.
For me, it started with what I call the gift of desperation. I really hit a point where the way that I was living my life wasn't working for me anymore. And many different times of where I've gotten to a point in creative careers and even in business entrepreneurial careers. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life for all intents and purposes, with temp jobs and day jobs along the way. But my head just exploded with 15 ideas. Right.
I know which way to go, but sort of like when you get to desperation. Yes.
Yeah. So the gift of desperation, and I got, that made me willing to do it. And I really heard this idea or thought in my head. It was kind of change or die. Like I didn't want to keep going on the way that I was going. I really felt this calling, but it felt like I was beating my head against a wall. So I became willing to change. And part of that for me was surrendering and giving up my ambitions and goals. I really think, looking back 25 years ago, that I was looking for that confidence to be proven to me. Rather than acting my way into confidence, I wanted to feel the confidence and then move forward. I wanted to be confident first. And the gift of desperation allowed me to change that. And I got willing to be messy, and I got willing to try weird new things. And that began a journey that opened up a whole world of healing for me.
I want to point out one of the things that you just said right there, which is such a huge mind shift that I think, I had to make it. And it's that you said you wanted to feel confident and then move forward.
Right.
And I think so many people do that without understanding that it's only in the moving forward that you then develop the confidence. So thank you. I did hear the rest of that, but I loved that part of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's so second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think it's so second nature to you anymore, to you now, that you don't even think about like what a huge paradigm shift that could be for somebody.
It is a huge paradigm shift. And I talk about, moving a muscle to change a thought, right? I didn't create that. I don't remember who did, but this idea of moving your body to change your thinking, move a muscle to change a thought. And we also heard the tool of acting your way into quote unquote right thinking, which I would call aligned or higher self thinking. So you can act your way into right thinking, but you can't think your way into right action. Right? If we're just thinking about it, we are on the hamster wheel.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and I've been down that path myself.
And then when you add the fact that the voice, the human voice, is actually a muscle. It is two tiny little muscles sheathed in mucous membranes that are your vocal cords, and it lives in your larynx that is also controlled by muscles. So when you actually can activate the muscle of your voice and talk your ideas out, for people honing a message or wanting to gain confidence, I'm often tell them to turn on the camera so you have an audience, because molecules behave differently under observation, as the physicists have proven, right? So have that audience and start teaching, start talking, start saying it. When you speak it, when you give voice to it, you can literally move some of the blocks, and some of the rewiring can be done through speaking it out loud.
That's an amazing tip. So thank you very much. And I would want to ask you also, I mean, that right there is a tip, but do you have any practical or actionable steps that listeners could use if they wanted to also maybe find the power of their voice another way?
Yeah, it's a tip that actually relates to that overall idea of using the muscle of your voice. The voice is, I like to say that the voice is a diva. It's like driving a sports car. It's highly emotional. If we have fear, anxiety, self-doubt, anger, joy, excitement, enthusiasm, the voice responds, and it is available to us depending upon how available we are to it. So this idea of the voice being a muscle, I have a really basic exercise that everyone in the world can do. And it's better than all the vocal exercises. You can YouTube. If you want to become a singer, you can learn how on YouTube.
Okay.
There's probably more to it. And I am trained as a singer. When I was doing singing training, it was always from the outside in. I was trying to make it sound right. I was trying to make it the way they told me to. And I was trying to perform and execute perfect sounds. And that was part of the reason why my voice became completely and entirely blocked. So the voice is a muscle, and doing vocal exercises, doing scales or breathing and these kinds of things that are awesome, can be another way to get us stuck in our head. So the exercise I learned actually from my best ever classical voice teacher was this exercise of sirening. If you are 3 years old and you hear a fire truck go by and you say, "That's a loud sound," you know how to siren, right? You can mimic the sound of a siren. And I'll take you through it real quick, but it's that simple. Like, I don't even like to put more words on it, because then you're in your head, right? So
Right.
pretend you're 3, and siren like a fire engine is the exercise. Now, the one thing I would add, I often use, like if you ever have been in a small town where the noon whistle blows, you hear this big, long sirening sound, right? And so that longer sound lengthens and strengthens your vocal cords. I won't do it full volume, but it's simply as taking a nice low breath and making a slow, long siren sound. It can be from high to low, from low to high. It doesn't have to be the very lowest sound or the very highest sound, just simple ooh. It's great to do in the shower. It's great to do in the car. And remember to take that nice breath and then allow yourself to make that siren sound. You will lengthen and strengthen the muscle that is your voice. And you will also be expanding your energy container, because sound moves matter. So it changes your body. You can rewire your brain so that all of a sudden you can find your thoughts and hear your message. You can actually clear all of the years of withholding and self-doubt and the times you've been silent by making sound.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
It truly is. And it's not an approach that I really have heard much of anywhere.
I think it's pretty unique. And and it is part of the secret sauce in some of the work I do. I certainly don't lead with it. And I have been working with people who are curious about singing for many years, and how that relates to being able to find your self-expression, ask for a raise, and show up in a relationship, be present to your children. All of these things happen with our voice. And sound creates space. The universe was born in sound, say that some of the Hindu scriptures, and I am the word and the word is God. And Aboriginals talk about singing into creation. And I just read another one, a Native American singing, a medicine man who said to the sick man, when was the last time you sang? Singing raises our vibration. So you can also just put on your favorite song and sing your heart out, and your voice will get stronger. You can move energy and heal blocks and fears around being seen and heard by simply allowing yourself to make sound. And most of us don't. Most people won't do that exercise because it feels very weird.
Right. That's what the car is made for.
Exactly. And the shower. Mm-hmm.
Yes, right. Exactly. Well, the shower, sometimes people on the outside still hear you through the walls, but the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when you layer into that simple knowing and how vulnerable the human voice is, it feels like we will die. The words "I would die of shame" are very real. It goes all the way back to the cavemen, where if you made a noise or you were weird or different, they would kick you out of the cave and the saber-tooth would come and eat you. So it's a really primal response that we have. And the sound can actually soothe and tone down and rewire that primal fear response of, I would die of embarrassment, or people will laugh at me, or it'll crack, or it'll squeak, and it'll sound bad. What if I say the wrong thing? And what if I sound bad? Right. So when you add that simple idea of exploring your voice from the sense of the perspective of healing and clearing and expressing yourself, just freeing your self-expression, and then you add witness, being witnessed in that, the transformation is off the charts, because when you are a witness in a safe container and you're expressing yourself and showing up and allowing your voice to be heard, there is a true, otherworldly spirit that comes in, and really the transformation is amplified.
Wow. I am loving this, and I can see how so many of us, at no matter what level we're stuck, whether we're actually really trying to be entrepreneurs or creatives, but then also being mothers and
absolutely,
and all of that. I mean, this is relevant to us and living.
Negotiating a raise, or buying a car or a house, or showing up in your relationship fully and really saying what you want. And
Oh, that's incredible. Well, I've loved talking to you, Michelle. And
thank you so much.
Yes, and learning more about this. Can you also, once again, remind us where listeners can learn more about you?
Yes, please visit my website at michellecopper.com. You can email me at michelle@michellecopper.com. Michelle is with 2 L's and an E, and Kopper is with a K.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Love
and all
your
of
show.
Thank you. And all of the rest of you who are listening, I want to thank you for being here. I'm sure you got quite a bit, a lot of ahas with that. And I want to remind you that Michelle suggests using a siren sound to raise your vibration and to get through some of the blocks and the ways you've held yourself back. And I definitely am going to be doing this and teaching it to my daughters. Yay! So from now until next time, go out and remember that you do hold the power to change and to transform your world. Thanks so much.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.